Sattler Files.
Welcome back to the Sattler Files. I'm Tricia Duffield, and this is Law and Order with Inspector Neil Royle, retired. Hello to you, Neil.
Tricia, morning. How you going?
Very well, very well. Now, you look a little bit like everyone else, a little bit bleary-eyed. You've been sitting up through the night watching the Olympics, have you?
No.
Well, that's that over.
There's about 9 million unused Zeds in my mattress, and I lie there and use them up every night. I don't sit there till half-past whatever in the morning watching someone do whatever it is at Rio. No, I'm not doing that. The highlight yesterday was that TV camera dropping off a string and falling on those people, poor buggers. So,
you bar humbug, you.
No, I don't. I catch up with it in the mornings when they say who did what, and what peeves me a bit is the way they pay out on athletes. I might be un-Australian to say so, but they certainly do attach lots and lots and lots and lots of importance to your athletic prowess in this country, and they hang a lot of pressure on these people to perform. And here's our golden chance, and here's this, here's that, and then it comes up, and the next day that so-and-so's flopped, or so-and-so's failed, or so-and-so can't deliver, or so-and-so. And I think this is, they are too harsh on the athletes as far as expecting them to do whatever they do. And let's face it, and now they're going to have an inquiry into the swimming team and to the coaching of the swimming team and to the management of the swimming team. There were swimmers in the world who were faster than ours. On the day, they got beaten, and that's just the way it is. So, to answer your question, I can speak on Olympic Games, but I don't watch it all the time. It's
interesting, isn't it, how we do react when our athletes fail. I mean, the fact that they got there is actually a win. And it's sort of got a double edge to it, hasn't it? Because we invest so much money into our athletics and swimmers' teams that there is an expectation of, okay, we want value for money. So we do expect them to at least, give it their all, which I think we do. But I think it's been interesting hearing the comments, say, from the Campbell sisters saying, oh, please love us still, don't hate us.
Exactly.
That is just, it really is a bit of a dagger in the heart.
And it is.
But the other point to that, I think, as well, in my opinion, Neil, is that one of the athletes I know said, oh, this has been a great personal journey for me. And I was there going, well, I don't really want to be paying for someone's personal growth.
No.
I really want to be, if as taxpayers we're all chipping in, I'd like to be chipping into somebody saying, I'm doing my absolute best in this job.
Yeah, good point.
Because that's what it is.
Good point. And they are fortunate in as much, and elite athletes are fortunate. They love, eat, sleep and breathe what they do. And they're lucky enough to be good at it and have someone fund them to be world travellers. Look at the standard bearer, the cyclist,
Anna Mears.
She's finished on an ordinary note that became about 10th or thereabout in the cycle race, but it's her third Olympics or fourth Olympics, is it, where she's got a medal every time, or 3 or 4 it is. What sort of a life has she had? She's travelled the world in representing at the highest possible level. She has international acclaim. And she's now trying to decide her future. Shall I just give it away forever, or will this because I'm on a downer because I lost and so forth? She's had a real good run.
Yeah.
She's had a real good run, and it's not cheap. And some of the athletes are now trying to apportion some of the blame to the fact that they left their training regime was too long. They had too long a training regime. The US, for example, had their training Olympic Games 6 weeks out from the games or something or other, and they come into it all fresher. The theory on our side was you do it 4 months ago, and then you can bring up some others who perhaps if the number ones aren't firing, you bring up some others. But the athletes are saying it was far too long, and we're fatigued, and we're this, and we're that, and we're something else.
Toughen up.
Good grief. And it is. It's a very, very expensive outing.
It is an expensive outing, and I think that when you see people chugging off to work in a bus, sitting in peak hour traffic and doing a job they don't like for the rest of their days, that's a lot tougher, and, I don't think that that's any less valuable or less worthy than an athlete doing their job.
Absolutely.
So I tend to agree with you on that, is toughen up, and if we're a bit harsh on our athletes, well, it goes with the territory. Yeah. So,
and while we're on it, before we move away from the Olympics, there's lots of toing and froing in Rio. Rio has its high side and its low side with ultra-rich and ultra-poor, as we know. There's been rioting in the streets for the poor side saying we can't get enough hospital treatment and school treatment and this, that and the other, and you guys are forking out all this money for Olympic Games. And it is an ultra-expensive deal to do so. And there's been a school of thought been bandied around for a while, and which I actually have attached myself to, and I'm inclined to agree. Greece, for example, held the Olympics not that long ago. And since that time, the venues that they spent lots and lots of money on, and they're already a cash-strapped country in any case, spent all this money on these venues which are now not being used and are falling into disrepair. That would be the same for lots and lots of other venues around the world, including our own in Sydney, would they not?
Oh, absolutely. I think part of the cost of living increase in Sydney was post-Olympics, when we had to pay for all the infrastructure that was constructed, and Homebush, where a lot of the stadiums were, they've struggled to make that work, and a lot of events that they said would be held in Homebush weren't, ended up being held in other venues, which seems ridiculous anyway. And if you go on the old Professor Google and Google Olympic stadiums around the world where there have been stadiums, including in China with that beautiful birdcage, that they have fallen into disrepair. There's one, I can't remember which Olympics it is, there are literally tumbleweeds just rolling through the stadiums, which is awful. And to pay all of that for a 2-week event and then be paying for it as a community or as a country for the next 20 years makes no sense at all. It's actually probably, an immoral and expensive exercise.
So I know the countries around the world all vie for it with the IOC, who are probably the most squeaky clean body of personnel in the known universe.
Besides FIFA.
Yeah, I'm sure no cartons would change hands or anything else for who gets Olympic Games, but there'd be those countries around the world on the other side of the coin who'd be ducking for cover. They don't pick us. Don't pick us, because they can't afford it. So why then, and it's been mentioned before, and I pick up on it again, that with Greece being the home of the modern Olympics, and why would they not hold the Olympics in Greece every 4 years and just have the countries vie for who will sponsor it and share in however they're going to share the profits out of it, if there are any. It wouldn't hurt the Greek economy, which is pretty low as it is, and their venues, which were built for their Olympics, and it is the home of the Olympics after all said and done. Why would they not do that, not have to build brand new venues every year, every 4 years in whatever country it is?
Yes.
So to me, that thing's a logical way to go, and they should be able to work through that.
Absolutely. And I think that this games, probably more than any other games as well, has not showcased its host city in the best light. In fact, it's actually shown some of the dark side of any major city in a third world country. And I think people are struggling a little bit to really embrace these Olympics, because we're watching privileged and wealthy people competing or supporting this in a country where, the vast majority wouldn't in their wildest dreams have any opportunities like that. And to think that the Olympics, in a way, is an exercise in inspiration as well as in commerce or economics, is that really worth the cost to those countries? So I think that what you're saying, I've actually heard that in conversations with people. Why don't we have it why isn't it just in Greece? And I think, 12 years down the track, maybe we'll see that.
Because at this point in time, the thrust behind it all Olympic Games is for all the countries of the world to come together in one big brother and sisterhood and all unite and kumbaya and all the rest of it there.
Kuma Matata.
That's right, while doing their bit. Is that a Girl Guide thing?
No, it's a Lion King, I think.
A Lion King thing. Oh.
I've never seen the Lion King. Akuma Matata, circle of life.
Akuma Matata sounds like part of a salad. But never mind. Certainly, if the thrust behind it all is for all countries to get together and in the common ground of sport and sportsmanship, well, that's fine. Let's say get stuck up on the beach with someone with a handgun robbing you blind and going through your unit and all the rest of it there, and having been told you can't go to the beach and you can't go here and you can't go someplace else because you'll be targeted.
What's the point in the end?
You've missed the boat a bit, eh?
Exactly. And I mean, the Sydney Olympics, which were the best Olympics ever, was pre-terrorism and all that sort of thing. So it still had that vibe that, like it was everybody coming together. Security risks are so great now that it's really difficult to really have that sort of atmosphere and that sort of freedom. So, I think we've solved it right here, Neil.
Oh, goodness.
This is
fine. Greeks, get ready.
Greeks, get ready. Now, on another completely different topic, a terrible accident overnight or on Tuesday or a couple of days ago on the air highway on the Nullarbor near Balladonia, 2 killed, car into a tree, quite possibly a fatigue-related accident. And fatigue is one of those subjects that's really being tackled with great vigour as a major cause of death on our roads. What's your view, first of all, on how we can actually take fatigue seriously as a cause of death for drivers?
it's a real tough one for law enforcement officers and for those who try and work out what's the best way to travel safely on the road. Very hard to police fatigue. Fatigue is a self-management thing. Ask any long-distance truck driver what they do to overcome travelling, and they've got to travel for 16, 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
When it comes to places like the Nullarbor Plain, and you've driven on it and I've driven on it, first of all, I'm surprised that this car would hit a tree. Because you got to bring your own tree out there, I would have thought.
Just about. Although Balladonia, funnily enough, Balladonia, there does have trees sort of for a stretch through Balladonia.
So this one occurred at Nullarbor, which is 916 k's from town. We had a horrible 24 hours. But people, because there's such long distances involved, if you're not sharing the driving, people, and a lot of people drive on their own, well, you did. If you don't pace yourself and work out how you're going to rest and so forth, you do tend, I'll just push through this blinky bit, I'll get a bit blinky, I'll just push through this and keep going.
And you can't. It's in that way it is really difficult to police, to educate and to manage, because you sort of, people think they can slap themselves around, take a couple of coffees, whatever, and push through. But once that fatigue sets in, there is you can't get out of that, can you?
I can recall instances where we when I was working in the job, following people along who are all over the road, especially out in those ones there, and we pull them over, because we think perhaps they're affected by alcohol or whatever it is, and they're actually going to sleep. Wow, so they get really right awake when the coppers pull them over, which is good. But then the police are stuck with a situation, where's the offence here? Exactly. There's no offence there. Or there is an offence there. This guy actually was on the incorrect side of the road. Right. So we could have done him for careless driving. And people who have crashes and say they fell asleep at the wheel, they do get done for careless driving. That's immediate follow-on. If you say, I fell asleep at the wheel, you're driving without due care and attention if you're asleep. Yep. So, but it is a self-managed thing. So what we do normally is, mate, you better have a bit of a rest, a bit of a sleep, and stay here for an hour. Don't want to see you on the road again for another hour and a half, whatever it is. But once you're out of sight, they can do what they like.
Now, that brings into question then, the education of drivers and driver safety campaigns. And I know there's been one, I know in New South Wales they have a big campaign for fatigue, just to make people aware that, that is a thing, that is something you have to actually think about. But in terms of driver education, we can have campaign after campaign. If the campaign isn't good, it's not going to hit that target market. And there's some campaigns out at the moment that are just a yawn fest, aren't they?
Tell me about it. Hang on, I'm having
cause fatigue.
There's
just
a wave of nausea on me at the moment. Hang on. I'm over it. The latest one, and you might not have seen stage 2 of it, but some time ago, government announced that because of the alarming road toll, and just as I mentioned in passing, with these ones that took place at Balladonia, and with the other 5 in the last 48 hours, that's 116 on the road killed this year thus far, compared to the 95 this time last year. So they're really winning the battle here. So the government, in their infinite wisdom, decided we'll educate the people how to drive safely and how to be better. So with all the money they get from the Road Trauma Trust account, which is money from speed and red light camera, which is, 60 plus million a year or something, that's supposed to go into road safety issues. So some Brains Trust has come up with this idea for a television campaign between 4 and 6 million, I think it is, between now and the end of December, and they'll have a number of thingos, little that make people better drivers. The first one you might recall was be a zero hero. And that's not Coke Zero, that is zero demerit points. So if you haven't had lost any demerit points in the past 3 years, you're a zero hero, and you should go and tell all your mates and get in the pub and say, are you a zero hero? If not, you're a loser. And then you see
and then wait for the punch in the face.
Wait till you visit your orthodontist the next day to sort out why this guy didn't like being told that he's a loser. And so this ad's on TV, and it was pretty mundane. Now stage 2's on. Yeah. And stage 2 is nauseous. It really is. So stage 2, I saw this ad and I thought, something wrong with my TV, the sound's gone. So there's a picture, there's a shot of a car, a lady, supposedly the mother, has got this teenage son beside her. He's looking very forlorn, like he lost a Reebok and found a thong, as we've said. And she's sitting there driving, and why is there no sound? And there's no sound. They're just both sitting there looking at the camera. And then the placard comes up at the bottom, lose your license, lose your life. And that's it.
Well, that's
so who thought that?
Who thought that? Because I can think, lose your license, lose your life.
Because mum's going to drive him around.
But there's so many better ways to illustrate how awkward and inconvenient it is to lose your license without, one, denigrating mothers, and two, I've seen that ad, and I thought the same. Oh, it's got no sound, and then it was like, is that his girlfriend? Is that his? And because he doesn't look young enough, and she doesn't look old enough.
And there's another. I'm sorry, don't keep
going.
No.
But it just like I thought. To me, I'd look at that and go, "Oh, brilliant! Mum's driving me." Like,
and
it was just weak.
The other one that I've seen, because I thought someone has actually. A, someone has thought this up. B, someone has taken this to someone and sold it to them because they thought it was a good idea. And C, it's on television for us to look at and going, what the hell? Yeah. And the next one is there's a guy sitting, there's mum driving, there's a bloke in the back seat carrying all the vegetables and goodies, and in the front seat there's a bag of Cresco 363 or something or other with a seatbelt on. And then lose your licence,
What's that?
What the hell? What's going on? I don't know.
I don't get that.
Don't get it. I'm dying for the next two to come out and see what they're going to do.
Yeah. Do you know what I think? Even advertising on free-to-air television is not hitting the target market anyway.
Nope.
There should be some inventive campaigns that are on all the social media platforms where a lot of younger people people are interacting. So that these things come up on your phone, they're in your face, sort of thing. Free-to-air TV, it's more likely that the mum who is now driving the son around might be watching free-to-air, but not that target market that they're aiming at. So, and it's just not a powerful ad. And if our money that's from all the fines and whatever that we're paying, we really need to be spent more wisely, and in much more powerful advertising campaigns.
Education certainly has a role. But so is enforcement. If you're going to say to people, you're a zero hero and pat them on the back, well, not interested in those. The good drivers are good drivers, and bad drivers kill good ones.
Exactly.
So get out there and get the bad ones.
Yep.
And no one's going to, even though I'm a zero hero and you're a zero hero and I didn't get a T-shirt or anything, so people don't really know, I've got to keep it a secret. What if you're getting out there doing burnouts and whatnot? You're not a zero hero, you're a Dilbury, and the cops should lock you up.
Exactly.
So that's where some of the money should be going.
Exactly.
They won't educate children in schools anymore, the police.
They don't?
Nope. That's stranger danger and all those road safety things, they stopped years ago because the hierarchy of the police said that's not an issue for police, it's an education issue.
And what do you think of that?
Rubbish.
Yeah.
Get the cops in the constable care is the only one.
Yeah.
But we used to go to the primary schools and teach them about stranger danger and all sorts of things and road rules, and we'd go there in uniform. So, the kids look, wow, there's a cop there. And because we used to chastise parents in shopping centres when the kid was crying, the parents would say, if you don't stop that crying, I'll give you to that policeman. I said, lady, do you mind? When the kid gets lost and we go hunting for him, they run away from us. So we used to push that barrier, and the cops said, they're good, they aren't baddies, they're goodies.
Exactly.
And because the parents would use the cops will lock you up if you're bad, and all that sort of stuff there, which they will find out by year 12 in any case. But when they're in year 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, when they're quite vulnerable and so forth, they need to know that we are the goodies, we are smarter than all the baddies, and we will tell you the good things to keep you safe, etc. No, that's not a police issue, that's an education issue, according to the hierarchy. Mistake. And guess what they're doing now? They're bringing back stranger danger lectures into the schools.
Right.
Because of the child abduction and bloody interfering with children. I don't know who's doing it. I don't think the police are.
I'm just, mouth open about that, because to me that's...
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
It's an absolute no-brainer. And to keep loading up, more and more on our education system to fix the ills of, society is just asking too much and under-resourced.
There's lots and lots of police out there, intelligent, active police officers who are not frontline fit. All right, so they've got some injury or some ailment or getting over something or other there, and they can't be on active patrol duties because they're not fit to wrestle with angry men. They certainly got the police brain is still there. They've still got the police clothes there, and lots of those would like to go to schools and speak to the children. And it'd be a good way to get those police back into the service again, as far as their mindset goes. And kids being kids, they don't want to hear the background of why this cop is at the school giving a lecture, just the fact that he's there doing it. And, why would you not have police in the schools for year 11 when the kids are about to get their driver's licence and just go, hey guys, do you want to know the first 10 easy ways to lose this driver's licence you haven't got yet? Here's number one. And you go down the line that way through drink driving and careless driving and burnouts and your mates and the peer pressure and all the rest of it. And I don't know any parent that would say, oh, that's an affront having the police come into the high school and talk to our children like they might be criminal. So they leave it alone, don't they? But it's there. The avenue is there, should be used.
Absolutely, and much more cost effective, much
free,
more targeted. You know, throwing stupid ads out on free-to-air television.
I can recall at a time I was sent to Perth Technical School, and my role, I was in the traffic branch at the time, was I had a class of 22 people who were illiterate. And I had to give them lectures on how they can go for their driver's licence written without being able to read.
Right.
So, and that was for me to bring them to a stage where they could go and apply for their licence. And we just did it with models and cars and things and stop signs and they didn't have to write anything down. Just when the time came for the test, it was an oral test and away they went. So I never heard of that happening ever again. And it must be out there. And
you're as cheap as chips.
I'm free. Yeah. I'm free. I'm real tarty.
Now, this brings us a nice segue. I'll let that comment go. Nice segue into
this means looking at me.
Retired police officers and people who've worked in the force. Howard is very passionate about war veterans.
Absolutely.
Ex-service personnel.
Yep.
And the terrible situation of suicide of ex-servicemen and, you know, homelessness and that sort of thing. The same sort of thing really could be said for police, that they are placed in similar confronting situations as a result of their work, but they don't get relief from it. They might be living in the same community where there's no relief from this. They retire. Do we look after our police officers both while they're in the force and maybe suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and when they retire or when they're pensioned out as a result of stress disorders and so on?
It's a yes and no answer. Mm-hmm. While they're serving police officers, we have a health and welfare branch within the police service who ostensibly attend to these people and look after them and so forth, ideally to get them back to a situation where they can return to the workforce. How successful that is, I don't really know, but certainly when you've gone, the drawbridge, she comes up. Wow. And that's it. They just, like you, they shut the door and see you later. And that's what happens. And the situation of depression, suicide and other things is just as prolific within retired police officers as it is with retired Defence Force personnel. Certainly Defence Force personnel have in the main experienced traumatic type things, be it in a war zone or wherever it is, be it for a 3-month period or be it for a 1-year period or whatever their tour was. Some coppers, I had 42 years and saw lots. There are those who are on a day in and day out basis are seeing things they can't really cope with, and what affects them mostly is the fact that they can't handle it, and they might get the same situation again tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and that becomes very, very daunting, and that affects their own families, and in some cases, extreme cases, affects the people themselves by they take their own lives because they're worried about and concerned about the alleged shame attached to the fact, well, you're supposed to be a copper, toughen up, fella.
Yeah.
But people are people, and that people take it differently.
Yeah.
For example, I was in a fatal crash section for a long time, and I ran it in the last few years in the job. The police officers who work at fatal crash and they just attend fatal and serious crashes, all they do, they get psych tested twice a year.
Right.
For that very reason, as do the detectives who work in child abuse unit. Psych tested twice a year because they're going to sit across the table from some creature, knowing full well what he's done, and not be able to strangle him. So yes, there needs to be much more done for people who have served the community as in a highly dangerous, highly pressurised environment, be it military, be it police. There needs to be something after the show is over to make sure, look, we really appreciate your time and what you did for the community. No, you're not forgotten. Let's help you through and so that the remaining years of your life are worthwhile and you've been appreciated. But not end up sleeping in the street or hanging off a rope
Exactly. I think one of the good things, I suppose, is just that recognition of post-traumatic stress disorder. That at least we identify it and recognise it now. So hopefully, that as time progresses, that we are much more aware that we do need to be putting things in place, as a matter of course. Can you hear that rain?
Well, I'm just, for those of you out there think that we're speaking such wise words here, that's all applause. No, that is torrential rain.
Torrential rain and thunder.
A bit of thunder down under as well.
Yeah.
So, it's not people trying to drown us out. We're going to speak in any case.
No, but it is a really huge issue. Just one other issue, of course, last week there was the meth forum.
Yep.
Very important. We'll be seeing a lot more of these as communities and families really try and wrestle with what is an extraordinary problem in Western Australia, the highest rate of use of ice in the nation, which says something, because communities across Australia are being absolutely decimated by ice use, and some incredible sort of side effects as well, like the contamination of our sewage.
Yes, indeed.
And you can extrapolate that into our waterways by meth. It's just mind-blowing. Well, it's
What's
your view on that?
Well, it's good that Lisa Harvey and the state government in a whole has decided to run the forum. Howard's up to his knees in that, of course, as you would expect, because that's his thing. The WA use of ice has doubled the national average. So, the alarm bells are ringing. And so the state government hosted a forum last week. Balcatta MLA Chris Hatton, he co-hosted it with Lisa Harvey, who's Deputy Premier, and the Minister for Health, Andrea Mitchell, all did their bits and pieces. Lots of young people in the audience, lots of them ice addicts, lots of them still at school, and it was long overdue, and now they've got to follow through with it. Okay, get around, have a big, discuss it and tell us. And when you state the bleeding obvious, we all know what are we going to do about it.
Yeah, let's get some action. I think we all recognise you can roll out statistics till the cows come home, but let's actually get some action. Yep, it's a problem. Move.
And these forums are fine because it comes with all these people who have got these horror stories to tell, and they relate these horror stories, and we goes, yes, oh yeah, we know, yes, we know, okay, and they've said we know this, and they're just some who have said so. How many out there, the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, who don't say and they're just continuing on with it, and how many families are living with it, with their own families and extended families?
I'd like to see some Year 11 students do a tour of a meth house and just see, live a day in the life of a meth addict and just see how much fun that is. That would be.
You probably won't get any support for that because those within the know, there's so many things that have been kiboshed over the years because it has a detrimental effect. I'll cite something I know. Once upon a time, if you did something minor under the Road Traffic Act or whatever it is, you get sent to a lecture.
Yep.
And that was in lieu of a fine. And the lecture would show various movies, things, one springs to mind called Mechanised Death, which is one American one, which showed all the carnage and so forth that ambulance officers, fires and police come across when people have road crashes. We'd have to have a St John's person on hand there for those that fainted. In the end, people would just turn their backs on it and wouldn't watch it. And the psychologist said, well, that's the response you're going to get. They will not look at it, so no point sending him. So we didn't. Somebody came up with an idea that they should trot high school kids through the mortuary. That was not a good idea. That didn't happen either, for the very same reason. So to take people to a meth addiction centre or something or other certainly has its merit, but they'll won't.
Kibosh it.
They won't.
Yeah.
There's an
interesting ad. It's an anti-alcohol ad, and it's get your Sunday mornings back, I think. I don't know if you've seen that. And it shows people out on Sunday morning having a great time, and I really like that ad.
Why are they sleeping? They're supposed to on Sunday morning.
But it's, I don't know, the reason I like the ad is because it's showing a positive message. It's probably not a great ad, and it's probably the same as what we've said about the road traffic, as you're talking to people who are already out running on a Sunday morning. But if we can find that message of the good things you can do with your life if you don't mess it up,
exactly.
But I don't know the answer to it, but it just feels like we're seeing a script already written with meth, that we're going to get to a critical point. Someone will come up with some, extremely expensive solution that'll take decades to roll out, and we'll look back and go, if only we'd done this 10 years earlier. It just feels honestly like we've seen, I'm reading a script that's already written.
Yep, and it's fortunate and it's proper that people in positions of authority who have the powers to change the laws of the land and change the way we treat certain people are actually involved in this, because you need to have those folk involved in it, otherwise we just talk about it forever. So yes, if you're in a position where you can make changes, make them before it's too late.
Yep. Inspector Neil Royle, we could talk all morning, and I'd love to, because it's raining outside, and what would be a better thing to do than sit here and talk with you, but we probably should wrap ourselves up.
Well, I'm not cold, but you can, by all means. But so you're going to kick me out the door now into the weather. Thank you much indeed. Very kind. I'll be driving responsibly to suit the conditions, as you would expect.
Indeed, which is very, very slowly, I think, on a day like today. Inspector Neil Royle, thank you very much for your time today.
It's my pleasure as always. And next Wednesday, let's do it again.
Yes, let's do it again. Inspector Neil Royle, retired, and Law and Order. I'm Tricia Duffield, and this is the Sattler Files.
This is the Sattler Files.